Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about 5 things to know when creating a startup. Starting with point number 1, you need to know the basic rules to creating a business. Simply put, you need to find a solution to a problem that people are willing to pay for. Now, there's a lot of problems out there, but not everyone is willing to pay for a solution. Then, once you find a solution to that problem, you then need to consider, because you're planning on creating a company, you then need to consider if the market is big enough. If the market's big enough, there's a good chance that there's room for you to innovate on existing solutions. Because while some people are already content with existing solutions, there's always people out there that's looking for ways to handle it a little bit differently. If instead the market is small enough, it's going to be tougher for you to make an entrance because there's almost always a good chance someone out there already came up with a solution, and for the vast majority of people, it's good enough. So the next part, you got to consider the total addressable market and how you are going to make your entrance. And then the next part is sales strategy and go-to-market strategy. Basically, in summary, you need to find a way to engage the right people, basically your end customers, which you need to consider the channels that you're going to be using to reach them. So is that going to be social media? Is that going to be online, offline? And if it's online or offline, what apps are they using, what physical locations they hang out, etc., etc. And then finally, because you want to eventually grow your business, you need to create a feedback loop between your company and your customers. So you basically need to ensure that whatever time and resources you're dedicating, it's being put to good use. You're building something that they want to use. You don't want to waste people's time and money. So that's the first point. You need to know the basic rules of creating a business. And then the second point that you need to know if you want to build your startup is, in this world, better is not really good enough. If you're creating a product or service in the tech world, and if you're looking to compete against other companies, especially well-established ones, you need to not only be good, but awesome or amazing, because there's always a good chance that your competition have better and more resources. So any minor improvements you make can easily be outdone tomorrow. For traditional businesses, this isn't really the case, because if you're establishing a brick and mortar store, for example, a coffee shop, you can easily create a very close copy of your competition down the road and still generate some revenue. Traditional businesses are often limited to their geographical locations, while modern tech businesses are not. So the playing field here is different. But now, how exactly can you know if you're building something that can be easily become obsolete in the tomorrow or the next few weeks? This is the part where being a technical founder really comes in handy. And just for a quick context here, technical here doesn't really mean that you need to have some engineering background. It can really be anyone who knows how to build or improve a product, service, or I added operation there because how you operate the business, your business, can easily translate to added value, in some cases, lower prices. A very good example of this is Amazon's same-day delivery. Their operations are so good that they're able to ensure product delivery the very same day that a customer orders a product. I can also throw in Costco here because they have rock bottom savings because of their business model, their wholesale and membership business model. They're basically transferring the amount of savings they're receiving to their end customers. Now, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, the reason why it's very advantageous if you're a technical founder is because you'll have an easier time estimating whether creating a new product or service would take just a few days during the weekends or at least half a year to a year. In addition to being more aware if what you're making is actually an innovation or if you're just reinventing the wheel. If you're building a product or service that can easily be done over the weekend, the barrier for competition is really low. You might be the first one who in the market to produce an amazing solution to this product, and maybe people are even willing to pay for what you came up with. But if it's so easy to recreate, the competition is a lot more fierce, and there's a very good chance that your competition is going to outcompete you, pretty much render you obsolete. If instead, though, you're building a product or service that takes a while to create, and that your competition would need half a year to a year to catch up, then you'll have just about that amount of time until your competition catches up to you, or worse, build something better. Second point here is you need to build something that is amazing or awesome. Better is just not going to cut it. Third point here is after you build your stuff, after you build your product or service, then you need to find a way to fund your company, right? You need to grow it. You need to pay for employees, salaries, and et cetera, et cetera. So this brings us to our next point. Startups go through hype cycles. Yeah, you heard that. Hype cycles. The kind of company you're creating and when you're starting to fundraise will affect how easily you get funded. Now, this is true when the internet was becoming popular, leading up to the dot-com crash of 2000. This is true during the chat app wars during 2010, eventually Facebook, WhatsApp emerging victorious. The edtech online courses boom in 2011, 2012, and then there was virtual reality early 2020 to 2023. And then now we're here on the AI hype. It started in 2023 and 2024. If you're creating a company that's using the latest tech trend and that you started your fundraising near the height of the current hype, then there's a higher chance that you'll get funded. This is true even if you have very little traction. Now, why is this an important point? Because when hype is high, there's a lot of dumb money circulating due to highly speculative investments. Then there will eventually be, of course, a correction and a stabilization. This has happened throughout history within and outside of tech. We humans are very easily enamored by the new glittering, glamoury thing. So it's definitely going to continue, and we're experiencing that right now. So next point is, I've made this observation from a lot of college students, but it seems to be also true even when they get into the industry. And that is, creating a startup is not a quick way to make money. In many ways, it's actually a lot harder to make money. Fourth point. A lot of people think that you just need to come up with an amazing, cool idea, pitch it to the right people, bada bing, bada boom, you get the easy VC money. That's very, very far from the truth. Remember that you're competing in the global arena, especially if your idea depends on creating some app or websites. I'm pretty sure that the last time you guys visited the App Store, whatever reason you find yourself in the App Store, anytime you're looking for something specific, there's like a gajillion of different apps, different websites that's pretty much offering you the same solution. So if you're creating a startup, you need to compete not within your country or your local area, but pretty much the entire world. So you're not localized to your area like traditional businesses. Your idea lives on the internet. This means that you'll need a lot more money in the beginning if you ever decide to work on your startup full time. Now, you might think, no problem, I'll just save up a bunch of cash, and then if I ever run out, I'll just get some loan from the bank. Well, loans for startups are actually, rate-wise, are actually worse compared to your the loans for brick and mortar companies. Startups are actually far riskier than traditional businesses. And so they price that risk in whenever they're structuring their loans. Startups actually are far riskier than traditional businesses. Startups have at least 90% failure rate, while traditional businesses have a 50% failure rate. As we can see, there is a big trade-off between startups and traditional companies. There's a trade-off for faster scalability, but with much, much higher risk. While for traditional businesses, it's harder to scale, but it's far safer. We're comparing 90 to 50 here, guys. 90% failure rate to 50% failure rate. And then now this brings us to our last point. Because it's a lot harder to make money as a startup compared to traditional companies, creating a traditional company, you can't expect to be a one-man show or have a team of people with the same background and still survive. This is what I noticed in a lot of very young startup companies, especially if you're coming right out of college. If you instead create a team with people with different skills and experience, complementing skills and experience, you'll increase your chances of surviving. I say surviving because succeeding is a completely different skill set and maturity. And this helps you avoid a lot of pitfalls that ultimately kills a lot of young startup companies. Again, 90% failure rate. I understand that especially in the early days, much of the time will be focused on developing and building the product or service, which usually suggests plenty of engineering time. But you'll also need, down the line, you also need to do marketing, sales, design, finance, and a bunch more. So even if you don't have the right people on your team right now, you need to position yourself in a way that will make the introduction of these key people easier down the road. After all, you still need to create a company that needs to sustain itself. So this This means cultivating the right relationship with the people in your network that can satisfy that skill void in your company. You still need people to build and design the product. You need people to find a way to monetize your product, and you need people to convince other people that your product or service or whatever is great and that they should buy it. And that's the five things that you should know when creating a startup. To summarize, you need to build a startup. Point number one, you need to build a startup around a problem that people would pay for. Second point is, a better solution isn't good enough. You need to be awesome or amazing. Third point is, startups go through cycles. So whether your company is in this cycle, and if your company is using the latest tech or buzz, this can affect how easily you get funded. Fourth point is, you'll need a lot more capital in the beginning if you want to create a startup, especially because you're competing in the global arena, not where you live. And finally, you need to create a team with competing skills and experience. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.